The departments that's here who can help you, they'll certainly try to accommodate you, but everything that you say is being recorded and will be acted upon. So the first speaker, Judy Frankel.
My name is Judy Frankel, and I live in Hoboken, New York.
Could you speak up, please, ma'am?
Which mic is this one? No. Yeah. In regard to what you had just mentioned, my question was, what has the town done to recently to address the enforcement of the laws regarding PAVCO? Meaning, nothing has been done. We've made complaints, and I realize that, you are short-handed, but what price do you have to put on public health? And nothing has been done over the years, and these mountains are getting higher and higher and higher, and nobody does anything about it. And you don't even have to go into the property. You could see it over what they're not even trying to hide what they're doing. It's a disgrace. And I just don't understand. There are laws on the books that already exist, and why can't they be enforced? It's nothing to do with checking it out or inspecting. You already know that they're in violation of a lot of things, and nobody's enforcing even the laws that are on the books. Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming down. Next speaker, Richard O'Kane.
I'd like to thank the board for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of you. I have two issues. Am I allowed to speak on two issues?
Absolutely. Everything you want.
Okay.
As long as you're not asking us questions.
Okay, I'd like to start with the town of Islip and the IDA for Islip.
Your name and address, please.
Richard O'Kane, 7 Phelps Drive, Whitewaters, New York.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to make mention of, we need some help. I'd like to give you a little story. What happened to, I'm with the National Suffolk Building Trades, and I'd like to mention to you what happened to a couple of unions recently. They had a $40 million surplus in their health benefit. And work became slow, and about over a year and a half the money evaporated. It evaporated the $40 million surplus because we didn't have any work. It just got slow. And for the first time in our history, we had to take money away from our retirees to the extent of $150 a person. So that meant the retiree, the spouse, and if at that time they had any kids. That was the first time that's ever happened. We had to reduce their benefits. And this is all in conjunction with the loss of the $40 million. We had to eliminate the coverage for eyeglasses, hearing aids, diabetic supplies, and a number of other things. And the reason why I bring it up, and our members, our active members that were working, there's a few that had jobs at the time, had to take $4 an hour out of their salary to supplement that fund. So I'm bringing it up all in one time to make sure that you get the idea of how severe this thing was. And maybe it didn't need to happen if the Industrial Development Corporation had an apprenticeship program and required one from anybody that applies for a job on a contract to get that job. There's people coming here from Minnesota, Arkansas, Kansas, Texas, Georgia, on and on and on and on. And we're standing on the outside looking in. All your neighbors around here have apprenticeship programs. We have 59,000 people as a membership, and 16,000 are your constituents, 16,000, all right? Now that's members. That's not counting their spouses and children. So we need an opportunity to go to work here. We do a lot of good things. Who's going to put your fires out? There's an exodus of people leaving Islip Town, Long Island, at the rate of 30%. And these are people that are aged 19 to 30, can't get jobs. We have 59,000 jobs that we have to offer, and every year we offer thousands. or hundreds anyhow, hundreds, and you could get into the thousands. We did all the work. So we gotta start thinking about taking care of our own here. And I'd like to invite anybody that would like to come, all of you, or some of you, whoever wants to go, to see our apprenticeship facilities. The state of the art, we pay for the unions pay for the training. The training costs from $35,000 to $50,000 for each person, depending on the amount of time that it takes, 3, 4, or 5 years to train for the individual occupation that they pick. And that's on us. And I'd like to bring a couple of statistics to you. 30 people in the last 2 years have been killed on the job, unskilled. It's 85%. They're willing to do the job, but they're not skilled. 85% of those 30 people who were killed in the last 2 years were unskilled, untrained people. So we would like at the very least to get an opportunity to bid these jobs that these people from all over the country get. It's not right. It's definitely not right. And I would like to, if you can get back to me, I'll give you my address if you need it, and to view these facilities that we have. And then I would invite you to go to see the facilities that these non-union contractors have. They have none. Well, they profess to have none.
Please, your time is up.
Okay, that's that one. Now I can address the other subject?
Pardon me?
I can address the other subject. You said I could speak.
No, I'm sorry. Everyone has 3 minutes, but if you want to say 10 words or less, we appreciate it.
Okay, I'll do that. There's a thing about the roads around here that need repaving and things like that. And I'd have to say there that I live in the Brightwaters, and the mayor used to say that Brightwaters was the crown jewel of Long Island, and I'd like to say that every once in a while, crown jewels need to be polished. Right now, I think there's an opportunity for us to do with the interest rates the way they are, to attempt to repair these roads so that, next year, the rates are going up, as you can see, they just went up last week, they're going to go up 2 more times, and I think it's incumbent that you look at that, okay? Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Next speaker, David Perry.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Carpenter and board members. My name is David Perry, and I live at 255 Fairfield Drive East in Holbrook. I received a copy of the letter that you just read to the regional director. I'd like to thank you for confirming the board's firm opposition to the Green Rail project. The board and the community are clearly on the same side of this issue, recognizing that the project has no merit being sited at this location. That said, I would like to reiterate my previous request that the board use its authority to put a nail in the coffin of this project by making it absolutely clear to the DEC that the town has certain jurisdictions that will not be waived or ignored. We remain concerned that your letter to the DEC defers the permit decision to the DEC when the town clearly has jurisdiction on the property per the zoning laws. If the DEC issues a permit, this should not and cannot be the final say. Making your authority clear to the DEC and the applicant before the decision is rendered is appropriate and warranted and will help our collective cause in stopping the project and keeping our community safe. Your request for the DEC to render a decision without informing them of this condition continues to empower the DEC to ignore the town and the will of the community. We have heard you say on several occasions that you have not received an application to act on. You have, however, been provided enough relevant information to step and clarify your role in this project. Please tell the DEC that you have the authority, and if they approve it, you will not. This is a simple request that is within your authority. Next, in my public comments at the last board meeting and in a follow-up letter, I had requested that you provide a public statement on the enforcement of the current activities at the site. Up until now, I hadn't heard a public comment, and I thank you for that comment today. However, what you have effectively told us is you've gone and looked at this site and have found no issues. So I would like the board and the supervisor to please tell us, do you believe there are no issues there, or are there issues there that just you don't have the manpower to deal with? Next, the board should be aware that the community will not be satisfied with just stopping the Green Rail project. The community insists that the property owner follow the laws and responsibly conduct their business without adversely affecting the community as they are. We want the town of Islip to simply enforce the law, and we all know that the property owner is not. Evidence that the town is actively pursuing actions to stop the flagrant violations will go a long way in rebuilding credibility between the board and the community and getting our community back. This is also within your authority to do so please do it. Lastly, I appreciate what you've done with the letters to the DEC and ask that you go that extra mile to put a nail in the coffin of this project. And we ask that you enforce the laws. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next speaker, Ernest Barbaropoulos.
My predecessor said it.
Okay, thank you so much, Ernie. Next speaker, David Gudowski.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and Town Board members. My name is Danny Gudowski, 2123 Ronkonkoma Avenue, Ronkonkoma. I'm the business manager of Plumbers Local Union 200, and I'm here before you today that, with the advent of all these big projects coming out, I just want to reiterate to the board, because I see there's so many board meetings that I go to, that infrastructure is the most important thing we need in Suffolk County right now. It's what's going to drive most of these projects. Right now, most of the infrastructure in a lot of the areas in Suffolk County aren't up to standards, and projects are great. They help the development of communities and stuff, but without the infrastructure, we can't build these projects. And with infrastructure being in the forefront everywhere in the state right now, I think we should keep that in the back of our mind when we make educated decisions on what's going to move forward in the town of Islip. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, Nessie Naday.
Good afternoon. Yelsina A. Day, 27 East Cherry Street, Central Islip, New York. 2 weeks ago, I sent you an email, Supervisor Carpenter, concerning why we, the communities of Brentwood, Central Islip, and North Bayshore do not have representatives on the committee for the revitalization of Roberto Clemente Park. I sent it to you on a Monday, and I requested that, if possible, you would give us some feedback. I referred the names of 2 young gentlemen who are very much dedicated to the community and is working very closely in the community to be on that committee, even if you don't want me on it. Which I know you don't. And I asked if you could give me a reply by last Friday. As of this date, I haven't heard anything from you. So now I'm coming before this town board again concerning our representatives in our communities. We need a voice. I love Mary Reed. I respect Mary Reed. Mary Reed lives in Bayshore. We are the ones who live around Roberto Clemente Park. We are the ones who have walked the streets, talked to the neighbors, gotten signatures, and have fought and stood in front of Roberto Clemente Park demanding that there be something done. So now in an article it says that within 30 to 40 days that you will start proceeding on the soccer fields. We still haven't had our voice. So the 25th, Uplift Brentwood, Uplift Central Islip, Uplift Our Towns, is having their own town community meeting at Brentwood Library. And we have requested that there be town representatives there. As of today, from what I was told, no reply. So what is it? Either transparency, or you just don't want us to know what you are planning on doing with Roberto Clemente Park. You know, we need to be involved, because we are the ones who will be using it, and we are the ones who have always supported that community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I know we don't do questions and answers, however, I do need to clarify the record. Nelsina,
Yes.
I appreciate your passion about Brentwood as a resident of Central Islip. I find it interesting that you're chastising Mary Reed, who lives in North Bayshore and is a member of the Brentwood Library, for
I
being a
know
member
that.
of the
I
committee.
did not chastise.
It's not back and forth, let me finish.
I did not
didn't
chastise her.
interrupt you, Nelsina, okay, thank you. The fact that there is communication between Uplift Brentwood, the two gentlemen that you referred to have been in communication with my office. We worked collaboratively with them on a flyer for this very meeting you're talking about. I was very, very honest and open and said that if the community, these gentlemen wanted an update, they have an organization that they represent, that we would be there to give them an update on what was happening with the park. There are representatives from the Brentwood community who live in Brentwood who are on the committee. The committee has been in existence for a number of months, has not met an awful lot of times, but it's all about give and take, input back and forth.
So
So
who are
I'll
these
see you
people?
at the meeting. I will see you at the meeting on the 29th. It
Let's
was not
get
the
this on the
25th.
record.
Unless it's
I
another
did
meeting.
not chastise Mary Reed. I said I love Mary Reed, I respect Mary Reed, okay? That is not chastising Mary Reed.
Okay,
So
so
don't put words in
I
my mouth.
apologize if that was a a choice of words.
No, that's the words you wanted to use, so don't put something in my mouth that I know I didn't speak.
Thank you very much, Nelsina. We'll see you next time. Next speaker, Steve Berkland.
Steve Berkland, 319 Homestead Road, Bayport. I went to school with Nelsina. I love Nelsina.
So do we.
And I invited her for chocolate egg cream after this, but she says it's too cold. I'm the type of person who, when I go to a movie, I stick around for the final credits. I know the scene goes dark, you see the end, but it isn't the end. You have to give credit to the other people, all the grips, all of the lighting people, and that's what happens after these 34 issues go on. The people who are speaking now, once that's done, and once you get started with this, they usually disappear. I'm asking you, please, stick around for the end of it. You may get something out of it. I'm not promising you'll like what you hear, but stick around, you may have a little more ammunition. I know when we came here for the Oakdale Historical Society, I stayed till the end, and I was approached by some of you board members, thank you very much. They may show up for you. Stick around. And if they don't talk to you, you have media here. We addressed this before, and you said if you hear otherwise, assume that the issue is passed. That's in the voting, where I pointed out I can't hear the votes that the board members are making. You may remember Welcome Back Cotter and one of my favorite people, Arnold Horshack, who always got very loud about something. I think you should be proud of the work that you do and show your emotion in making the votes. final thing here. I wasn't there for the meeting, but I did read Newsday's presentation of the state of the town. And on behalf of the Oakville Historical Society, I would like to thank you for mentioning your support of our mission.
Thank you, Steve. Next speaker, Charlie Hall.
Afternoon, Board Supervisor. Charlie Hall, 52 Bayview Avenue, East Patchogue, New York. As per last month's town board meeting, the board allowed assignment of the lease between the town of Islip Ultimate Game Sports to Brothers Duo. As a part of the lease, Ultimate Game is responsible for, and they quote, "Construction of the athletic fields on Eastview Drive has been completed in a substantial compliance with the site plan, concept plan, and related development plans." Well, there's problems with this. The fields are not as per plan. There's a $469,000 lawsuit for non-payment of the construction services of the fields. There are safety issues with the fields. These fields are a part of the lease and are not in substantial compliance, yet they're being used as a bargaining chip in the lease. I would like to see that these issues get resolved before the town honors the lease that has been violated multiple times by Ultimate Game Sports. In the spirit of transparency, I think it would be in the best interest of the taxpayers and the citizens of the hamlet of Central Islip to be privy of the agreement between Ultimate Game Sports and Brothers Duo. It has been proven in the past that the ball field completion was constructed without a bond. There is a $125,000 value held in escrow in lieu of a $1 million bond. Contrary to the lease agreement, why the special treatment? If the board enforced the lease and made sure the job was bonded, there would have been two results. One, the bills for construction service would have had to have been paid. Two, the town would have recourse on the inferior work performed in the later stages of construction. More importantly, the town would have recourse on the safety issues. It's clearly Ultimate Game Sports' responsibility to furnish fields, quote, as per the plan. Why did the tax dollars pay for the completion of the fields, the taxpayers? The fence and the landscape, for instance, are on the plan in the Ultimate Game contract with TG Nickel. Why did our tax dollars pay for these items? Potentially more items. I have copies that I will submit. Next topic. The apprenticeship program, I urge the board, before they make any decisions on that, consult with ABC Contractors Association. As you know, there's always two sides to every argument. And if you were to sign that whole apprenticeship program, bill, we'll call it, you would basically be alienating all the non-union contractors in the town of Islip. I'm all for keeping the money in the town and the state. I agree. But it becomes a union, non-union issue. There are non-union contractors that have employees with OSHA 10 safety first, and maybe write it into the legislature. All contractors have to have OSHA 10 certification on all employees on a town project.
State law.
Okay,
Thank you very much, Charlie. Time's up.
thanks.
Thank you. Next speaker, Paul Sheridan.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Sheridan from 3495 Union Boulevard in East Islip. I'm just here to reiterate the ball fields as well. There was a contract with TG Nickel and Associates who started to perform the work. They opened the game courts. They failed to pay their bills. And currently right now there's still a $469,000 lawsuit that's still open as of December of 2012. It's from my understanding too, the town was using the ball fields on Carlton Avenue as a bargaining chip to let the contractor then take over those fields for a small portion of money. But from my understanding is in the new lease agreement is the past bills due should be paid to the outstanding contractors. That's about it. Just want to make sure it's being addressed.
Thank you very much, Paul. Next speaker, James Fallon.
Good afternoon, James Fallon, on Allen Furnace Road, Bay Shore. The lease between Town of Islip and Ultimate Gamesport, as per last board meeting, the town has agreed and allowed the lease to be assigned for a fee of $75,000 per year for 35 acres. The simple math here is $178 per month the town will receive. This is obviously below market value. Why so cheap? That's it.
Thank you very much, James.
You're welcome.
Next speaker, Royetta Alston.
Good evening. My name is Royetta Alston. I live at 23 East Cherry Street, Central Islip. I just want one question on I-15 by the animal shelter. What are your plan going to do when they relocate the new shelter? The plan for that old shelter? You going to keep it or you going to demolish? I know somebody needs a shelter for their animals.
It's all under consideration.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me know. Write to me. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Stephen Finley.
Good afternoon, board. Good afternoon, supervisor. I'm still.
Thank you.
This is about the Ultimate Gamesport.
They just need your name and address for the record.
Stephen Finley, 42 Maddox Avenue, Islip, New York. This is about the valuation of commercial property and how do you come to these numbers. It's approximately 35 acres in central Islip, industrial grade. I went to 3 different commercial real estate firms and got estimates between $450,000 and $700,000 an acre. How does the board come up with evaluating one of these pieces of property? It seems to me to be a value of $17 million. That is being leased out at the cost of $75,000 a year for a 99-year lease. Something to me doesn't sound right. And basically, that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Stephen. Next speaker, Joe Fritz.
Good afternoon, Angie. My name is Joe Fritz from Brentwood, New York. I'm here to speak about the Industrial Development Agency in Islip Town. Right now, the Industrial Development Agency is comprised of the Islip Town Board, the same board which I'm now addressing. I believe that the IDA Board and the Islip Town Board should not be synonymous. It's a conflict of interest. The town is supposed to be transparent, not opaque. No town board in Suffolk County has as its town board and act as its industrial development authority, except Islip. The function of the IDA board is to provide grants, tax incentives, and financing for companies who move here. These included Symbol Technology, Computer Associates, to the small little apartment house complex located on Route 111, right behind Oakney Diner, known as Kingsland Macy Apartment Complex. They all receive tax reductions. Well, we must also include Jerry Wolkoff's Hotland Complex in Brentwood. Do you think that Wolkoff would not build his project if he didn't get a tax break? Hell no, he can get a better price when he flips it. That's what smoke and mirror government does. Islip Town should have an independent IDA board to make the important decisions as to whom should receive the tax breaks in the town of Islip. It should not be comprised of the Islip Town Board. When one receives a tax break for moving here, they should also have to make a commitment. They should not leave the moment the party is over. There should be clawback provisions to provide balance. On companies who receive significant assistance, they should receive a 10-year tax break, they should be required to remain 15 years as a commitment to the town. The taxpayers have a right to proper representation. We need more than ever a government who is not only capable, but fearless. We must not be afraid of change. One can't say we are saving money by using ISA town board members. Well, this logic is flawed. Not to do so creates the appearance of impropriety, for good reason, politics, closeness to the board. As a former Board of Zoning Appeals member, I could not appear before the Board of Zoning Appeals for at least 2 years. Good reason. It's too close to your service. Well, we need the same logic applied to a body which is just as important. Saving money is not the answer. Very recently, we had a councilman who decided to run the Parks Department while the supervisor was away. The result is the Roberto Clemente Park debacle. We do not need close supervision, but independent supervision. Let's shake things up at the Industrial Development Agency. Let's get independent board members to make proper decisions before a Green Acres shopping center tax break finds its way into the town of Iceland. Thank you.
I do believe that was an independent board that made the decision in Green Acres that was summarily dismissed and replaced by the town board.
We're speaking of Iceland.
No, but you
I used it as an example.
Yeah.
However, Iceland has its own board members as the IDA board.
Right. Okay, next speaker, Mark Herbst.
Good afternoon, Supervisor, members of the Town Board. My name is Mark Herbst. I'm the Executive Director of the Long Island Contractors Association and a resident of West Iceland. I'm here to thank you for considering and looking at the capital program for the town of Iceland. It is vital that you look at it responsibly and look at the investment that you are making for this community. I will admit, as a taxpayer, I do not like to pay taxes, and I hope you could eliminate all of them. I don't believe that's realistic. So when I purchase something or anyone here goes to the store, you want the best value you can get. If you're going to be spending our taxpayer dollars, we want to make sure we get the value. The Long Island Contractors Association, it represents the heavy construction industry on Long Island that puts in the sewers, the roads, the bridges, tunnels, parks. That's what we do from the private sector for our government partners. So we did an analysis based on information that all the municipalities provided to the State Controller's office to find out who is best at what you do. Are you spending your money properly? And we decided as part of that analysis, let's look at the capital programs that we have. The town of Iceland, what are you spending as an example of per resident for the roads? And we did an analysis throughout Long Island, and the range that we had was some towns were paying as high as $185 per resident for roads in their towns, as low as $24 per person to pay for capital improvements. The town of Islip, I'm happy to tell you, wasn't the cheapskates, and they didn't overspend. You were right in the middle. You spent $51 per resident on the capital program over a 5-year period. This is based on information, data that was provided by the towns and villages to the state control. We did not come up with these figures. We analyzed them and compared everyone apples to apples so we know what we're talking about. You have been responsible. You've been right in the middle. That was a 5-year period that we looked at $51 that you averaged. Since that time, during the last 2 years, in 2014, the last recorded year prior, that dropped to $44.85 per resident. 2015, that dropped even again to $36.15. You are investing less in the infrastructure than you had previously done when you were in the middle. You are now dropping to the bottom of all municipalities at a time when the interest rates for municipal bonds is the lowest level it's ever been. This is the ideal time to make an investment in the future of our community. This is the opportune time. So as you look at the capital improvements that are needed, we are there to support you, but to go above and beyond that to help you as we're doing now. Now we are advocating in Albany for more CHIPS funding, the highway funding from Albany. We're working hand in hand with you, as you know that. Storm recovery from Sandy in my neighborhood. I can see 5 houses that are still being rebuilt. Road repaving, what you've done is basically a Band-Aid because the money's not there. You pave over, and we look for the beautiful weather. We're not concerned about it for the sunshine. You better look at the tide tables because you don't know if you're going to get to your homes the way the storms, because the system is not being maintained. Our parks are not being maintained, our docks. If we get hit with another storm and the investment stays at the levels it has been, and it's declining as everything, the maintenance, deteriorates over time, we're going to be catastrophic. We're going to be in a worse position than other municipalities. And if you want to invest in this community, people want to move here. Our highest taxes are the schools. We've got excellent schools. But if you don't invest in the communities, no one's going to want to go to those schools. They're not going to afford them, but they're not going to want to live here. And the value of our real estate is going to continue to decline rather than increase. This investment in infrastructure is the future for Iceland. It's the best time to do it. The interest rates, it's for the future, and the maintenance is needed. And the federal government, everyone's talking about it, but now is the time at the local level where you can take the action and you can take the right steps to make the right decision. And I applaud you and thank you because I know you're going to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I would like to get a copy of that, Mr. Herbst, I'd like to possibly get a copy of that analysis that was done.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Next speaker, Jim Schlaub. Schlaub? I apologize.
Hi, Jim Slough, 415 Cliff Street, Central Islip. I've been here for 50 years. I'd like to mention, I watched this on television, and you got some kind of an impedance mismatch or something, because when you switch to channel 18, the volume is through the roof, and you can't watch it. It's garbled. What I came here for was, you got a problem here in my area where you get these loud parties in the summertime. You don't get one weekend where you can get rest. It's you get these professional DJs with these big gigantic amplifiers, and sometimes it goes on till 3 in the morning. I remember one time I'm sitting home and I kept going outside. I'm saying, man, that's loud, you know, and I kept going out in the backyard. It sounded like it was coming from the neighbor. And I get in a Jeep to try to find out where it's coming from. And it's a half a mile away on Peters Boulevard. And it's 12:30 at night. And nobody's doing anything about it. I called the cops this summer about it. A neighbor was doing that. And the cop says, why don't you go over there and have a beer with them? You know, what kind of, you know, we're paying a premium here. We're paying a good premium for these police around here. And this is and then the cops do come. Sometimes you get a good one. And they leave and they turn the music back up. And then, lately, we used to pray for rain, because I had a lot of neighbors that left because of this. And they go, oh, good, it's raining, we're going to get a quiet weekend. Now they get tense. and then in October, they get heated tense. I wish I could laugh about it. I remember Islip Speedway, you know. That was loud, but I don't know, that was like a droning white noise that never bothered me. But this would drown out Islip Speedway. So I don't know, you know, I see the town code, it says no noise, it's supposed to leave your backyard. I remember when my friend lived in West Islip, we had a little get-together in the afternoon and they had a little table radio. And somebody didn't like the music, little table radio. I mean, these people, they come in here with these amplifiers, you know, they're like this. And the guy's screaming in the microphone. You don't know what the hell he's saying. It sounds like it's whatever the hell it is. And they had 3 cop cars show up in the middle of the afternoon in West Islip, south of Montauk. So they get preferential treatment. You know, we're nothing. We're in Auburn Gardens, that area over there. It's really bad in the summer. You had a gentleman here last year from Brentwood that was complaining about this. Some of these parties are professional. He said they got people going in there, professional DJs going in there, and then they pay to go to these parties. You can't imagine what it's like. You know, it's like a kid's party. We used to, if we had a birthday party, you know, we'd go in a house and sing happy birthday. So I'm just letting you know, this is what's going on. If you want to get together with Suffolk County Police, you know, I don't know what to do.
All right, thank you so much. We do meet with them regularly, and we will bring this up. Thank you very much, Jim. Next speaker, Vinette Bennett.
Good afternoon. My name is Vinette Bennett. I live at 256 North 3rd Avenue, Bayshore. I'm the owner of the property. My concern is the cleanliness of the area. We have a lot of vacant land, and they're constantly dumping. I've called several times, but it's embarrassing. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. When my friends come and visit me, I'm totally embarrassed. There's tires, sofas, bags of junk constantly. I've called several times. Maybe you could put up video cameras. I don't know what to say. The vacant land is never cleaned. Isn't there a cleaning system where the roads can be cleaned once in a while? It's embarrassing. And I really would like you to do something about it. Thank you.
Vinette, thank you very much for bringing it to our attention. And Mrs. D'Amico, our Commissioner of Public Safety, is there. And we're going to get those addresses. I think that would be a step in the right direction. Thanks so much. Next speaker, Dawn Urquhart.
Can you hear me in the back? Yeah. Hey, good afternoon. Don Urquhart, 175 Colony Drive, Holbrook. While it is encouraging that the doors to public information are finally creaking open, we're still left to consider what it was that compelled our government to slam them shut so tightly for so long, and then to figure out what it is that the lingering consequences might be. And this is especially so as related to the current conditions and activities on the Furrows Road industrial parcels. On July 16, 2015, Long Island Business News reported that the site, and here I quote, allegedly accepted thousands of tons of possibly tainted fill dug out of construction sites in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens, end quote, and that, quote, investigators from the state's Department of Environmental Conservation, accompanied by officials from the town of Islip, visited the Furrows Road site last week and took samples of the dumped material for testing, end quote. Well, aerial imagery reveals that the illegal sand mining and dumping occurred over years, and no one stopped it. And only after hundreds of residents woke up, stood up, and spoke up, are we now finally getting drips of information from our government about what went on over there. And the more we learn, the more we see that there was a lot to hide. Now, Long Island Business News was told that DEC officials, accompanied by Islip Town officials, removed samples in the first week of July. Well, we just learned that DEC supervised samples weren't collected and analyzed until September of 2016, 14 months later. And in that time, 2 more parcels were illegally mined directly next to where the samples were being collected. And no one noticed it. Yet no samples were collected from those mined parcels. So we want to know how and why that happened. Now, 12 parcels were mined, but somehow samples were only collected from 4 of them. The analysis shows that holes more than 30 feet deep were filled with asphalt, brick, concrete, glass, soil, wood, wire, cloth, quartz, ceramic glass, and other vile wastes. Coincidentally, DEC authorized the owners of those parcels, the adjacent parcels, to store and process root bars, recognizable and uncontaminated concrete, asphalt, rock, brick, and soil on their property. Coincidentally, no samples were taken from the parcels that are owned by those other owners on the contiguous parcels that were apparently mined. So after we, the people, accidentally found out about the pending permit, DEC provided a presentation about that pending application on January 4th. Another coincidence. The following day, DEC got the results from the samples that were taken from 4 of 12 mined parcels. If I could please just finish my thought like the fellow from Brightwaters was allowed to do. We want to know what's buried there. We want the town to enforce the code. And please, Let us know what's on those parcels. And I can close with this statement. We want answers and action, not hollow sympathy and letters. Enough is enough, and I am not alone, and we are not going away.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next speaker, Matt Norton. Matt Norton.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Carpenter and Town Council. Thanks for giving me a moment to speak. My name is Matt Norton. I live at 24 North Street, Syosset, New York. And I'm here representing 757 steam fitters from Local 638 who live in town of Islip. I was actually born and raised here, but since I've moved, so I have a lot of family that lives here as well as my constituents. And as I say always, my constituents are your constituents. So I'm here to speak about the capital improvement, the budget, I guess it is. And all I want to say really is that without a solid footprint, without a solid base, it's very difficult to build an economy. And as was eloquently spoken about earlier, the infrastructure is vital to a town's growth. And this town is in vital need of infrastructure upgrades, whether it's sewers, roads, and I know nobody likes to pay taxes. Believe me, I live in Syosset, I know about taxes. It's criminal, but it's necessary. So the infrastructure is the footprint, is the base, is what's needed for growth to occur. So I'm here to ask you to support the infrastructure budget, and that's really all I have to say. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the town board? That's all the cards that I have that have been signed. Hearing none, motion to close the public hearing, a public portion rather.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Bergen, second by Councilman Cochran. The public portion is closed. And now for the rest of the movie, as Steve mentioned earlier. Glad you're staying. Okay, the first resolution on the agenda is the monthly cash summary. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Flaherty, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next item are the appropriation transfers. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. The next item is the meeting of the Town Industrial Development Agency. I'll call for a motion for the board to convene. Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Mullen. The board of the IDA is convened with the quorum being present. Mr. Walzer.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the agency board. John Walzer, 40 Nassau Avenue, Islip, New York. I have several items for consideration today. The first of which is I'm sorry?
Hold it 1 moment.
Yeah.
And this is the best part of the movie. I tried, Steve. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Beautiful.
You can't leave. It's a better seat now. Spread out. Cut off or sleep. Have you looked at the temperature?
When we go play volleyball.
Okay.
Ready? Okay, the first item I have for you today is approval of the minutes from the last meeting of this board on February 28th of this year.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Motion by Councilman Flaherty, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Minutes are approved.
The next item is an inducement/authorizing resolution between the agency and BBC Associates, LLC, also known as Lab Crafters, in Ronkonkoma. This company manufactures a diverse product line which includes furnishings for the pharmaceutical industry, higher education, and other industries that utilize laboratories for quality control and research and development. They will be investing over $2 million and retaining 75 jobs and creating 35 new jobs.
Any questions? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
The next item is an inducement resolution between the agency and the Nature's Bounty Company, headquartered in Ronkonkoma. This project actually involves 8 properties located in the town. Nature's Bounty is a global manufacturer, distributor, and retailer of vitamins, nutritional supplements, and sports and active nutrition products. Spearheaded by aid from the state's Empire State Development Corporation. This project will allow the company to modernize their local manufacturing facilities and move operations from China and California to Long Island. The project involves a total investment of over $142 million, retention of over 2,000 jobs, and the creation of over 160 new jobs.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Flannery, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Number 5.
The next item is an authorizing resolution for a project you introduced at last month's meeting between the agency and 75 Sunrise Highway LLC. This is an expansion of a specialty veterinary hospital and emergency center in West Islip.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Make a motion. Motion by Councilman Bergen. Second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved.
The next item is a resolution authorizing Creative Bath Products to enter into a rooftop lease agreement with Boulevard Associates LLC at 250 Creative Bath Drive and 555 North Research Drive in Central Islip.
And this is for solar panels?
Solar panels,
Rooftop lease?
correct.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran. Second. Second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
The next item is to consider the adoption of an amended resolution granting full mortgage tax exemption for Andreassi Associates at 45 Crossways East in Bohemia.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Flannery. Second. Second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved.
The last item is also an amendment to the mortgage recording tax for Macy Estates located at 40-46 Islip Avenue in Islip.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flannery. Second. Second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? I'm going to abstain.
Any other?
No other business to come before us? Hearing none, motion to adjourn by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flannery. All those in favor? Opposed? The meeting of the RDA is adjourned. Thank you very much, John.
We'll stay for one more.
Next is economic development.
EDC, correct.
I will have a motion to convene the board of the Town of Islip Economic Development Agency by
Economic Development Corporation.
Corporation, I'm sorry. My notes say agency.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flannery, second by Councilman Bergen. The motion is approved. We are convened with a quorum being present.
Thank you. I have 2 items for your consideration. The first is to approve the minutes from the meeting of this corporate board in January of this year.
Any questions on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll make that motion. Second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
And the other item I have is to consider the adoption of a resolution authorizing the Economic Development Corporation to enter into a contract with the Islip Arts Council for sponsorship of the 2017 concerts in the amount of $10,000.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'll make that motion. Second by Councilman Flannery. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Any other business to
I have
come
nothing
before
else.
us? Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Councilman Bergen. Second. Second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? The meeting of the Town of Islip Economic Development Corporation is adjourned. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item is to secure and clean up various properties in the Town of Islip. I would ask Taryn Krasinski to address the board and go over these resolutions for us.
afternoon, Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Board, and Town Clerk. Tara Kuzimski, Assistant Town Attorney with the Town of Islip, 655 Main Street, Islip, New York. Number 1, to board and clean up the premises located at 37 Poplar Street, Central Islip. On this vacant and unsecured property, which was damaged by a fire in January of this year, there now exists unsecured windows and doors on the main dwelling, an unsecured shed, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Flannery, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 2, to board and clean up the premises located at 41 Magnolia Street, Central Islip. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured windows and doors, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Number 3, to board and clean up the premises located at 105 Junard Drive, Bayshore. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured windows and doors, holes in the roof soffit and wall sheathing, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Number 4, to board and clean up the premises located at 957 Belmore Avenue, Central Islip. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists an unsecured garage door, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flannery, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. And I believe that's it. Thank you very much, Karen. Next item on the agenda, number 6, is the appointment of Ms. Geraldine Honoracio Newman as a co-deputy commissioner of the Colonial Estates Beach Erosion Control District on Fire Island. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flannery. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item on the agenda of bid awards. Any questions? Hearing none, motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flannery, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item on the option year resolutions. Any questions? Motion. Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next is the establishment of standard workday for certain appointed and/or elected officials in the town of Islip as required by Regulation 315.4 of the New York State and local retirement system. Any questions? Motion. I'll make that motion. Second. Second by Councilman Flannery. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next item are the special events. We've got a number of runs, Memorial Day parades, can't believe it's almost that time. I think I saw some block parties in August. I mean, people are really thinking ahead. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Bergen. Second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item number 11 is an authorization for the town clerk to advertise for public hearing to consider amending chapter 37 of the Islip Town Code entitled Parks, Swimming Pools, Marinas, Boats, and Waterways. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item is an authorization of supervisor to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the United States Coast Guard Sector Long Island Sound regarding standard operating procedures in support of Coast Guard maritime search and rescue and other Coast Guard missions. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Flannery, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item is an authorization for supervisor to enter into a license agreement with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation regarding the use of a 24-foot Boston whaler boat for the purpose of patrolling the Great South Bay, rivers, creeks, and other navigable waterways in the town of Islip, the northwest of the town. This is basically on loan from the state. I'd like to thank the commissioner and everyone else who worked on supporting this grant and use of this vessel for us. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Flannery, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. The next item is the meeting of the Town of Islip Police Rescue Recovering Agency. Take a motion to the board to convene. Motion by Councilman Bryan, second by Councilwoman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? The board is convened. The quorum being present. And Mr. Heil, you're up.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Madam Chair, excuse me, and members of the board. James Heil, President of the agency, 401 Main Street, Islip. I have two items for your consideration on this first full day of spring. First is approval of the minutes of the February 28th meeting of the agency.
Any questions on the minutes? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Flowers, second by Councilwoman Bergen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved.
Second is a resolution authorizing the president to enter into a recyclables collection agreement with Toro College for the collection and processing of recyclable materials generated from the various colleges' facilities within the town.
Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
That completes the agenda, Madam.
Okay. The next item, oh, I'm so sorry. A motion to close the meeting of the Town of Islip Police Recovery Agency. Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? The board is closed. Next item on the agenda is 15. Adoption of the negative declaration for the construction of a new animal shelter facility and the authorization for the supervisor to execute the determination of significance regarding the same. Any question? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second. Second by Councilman Flower. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item is an authorization of the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing to consider an additional 3-year contract with the Village of Ocean Beach for fire protection and ambulance services to the CBA Fire Protection District. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 17, authorization of the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing to consider an additional 3-year contract with the Village of Ocean Beach for fire protection and ambulance services to the Atlantique Fire Protection District. Motion by Councilman Mullen, second by Councilman Kleiner. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item is an authorization of the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing to consider an additional 3-year contract with the Village of Ocean Beach for fire protection and ambulance services to the Atlantique Marina Fire Protection District. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 19, authorization of the town clerk to advertise for public hearing to consider an additional 3-year contract with the Village of Ocean Beach for fire protection and ambulance services to the Fire Island Fire Protection District. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion by Councilman Flannery, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item is an authorization for the supervisor to apply for and accept the Division of Criminal Justice Community Federal Burn Grant 2016 and Education and Prevention of Anti-Drug and Anti-Bullying Initiative Grant from the Office of Justice Assistance. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Bergen.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item is an authorization for the supervisor to amend the lease with Mid-Island Air Realty, providing an extension of 24 years in consideration of Mid-Island spending in excess of $6 million in capital improvements to the subject premises and agreeing to an annual increase in rent subject to the consumer price index. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran. Second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 22, the authorization to supervise and execute professional services agreement with PH Computers for computer equipment maintenance and repairs. Questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item is an authorization with the supervisor to enter into a contract with Concrete Plus for DPW 1-2017 cement concrete sidewalk at various locations on Fire Island. Any questions?
Motion.
Second. Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 24, an authorization for supervisor to apply for and accept grant funding from the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation for the 2017 Clean Vessel Assistance Operation and maintenance for the town's pump-out boat program. Questions? Hearing none. Motion? I'll make that motion. Second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 25, An authorization for the supervisor to enter into an agreement with the Sayville Farmers Market to operate a farmers market at the Islip Grange in Sayville. Motion? Motion by Councilman Mullins, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next item is authorization for the supervisor to enter into 4 agreements with all county amusements to hold 4-day carnivals at Brooklyn Hall in East Islip, Benedict Tours in Central Islip, the Islip Grange, and Gillette Park in Salem. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Bergen. Second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 27 is authorization for the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Bill Lombardi's to provide a senior fall ball luncheon for Islip senior citizens to be held on Monday, November 6, 2017. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Mullen, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 28, an authorization for the supervisor to execute an easement in favor of 9124 Maple LLC to permit the installation and maintenance of a grease trap within a portion of Maple Avenue and the Maple Avenue dock located to the northeast and south of the premises situated at 124 Maple Avenue in Bay Shore. Questions? None. Motion? Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Clouden. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. And 1 recusal. Item 29 is an authorization for the supervisor to execute an amendment to the professional services agreement with Nelson & Pope to include additional design and construction inspection services at the Brentwood Country Club. Any questions? I'll make that motion. Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 30 is the town board approval to co-sponsor the 3rd annual Brooklyn Fall Cleanup and Gardening Day to be held on Monday, April 27th. Can I do anything? Please come down. It's amazing. Literally hundreds of volunteers come down. It's Thursday. And this Thursday, the 27th is in the resolved clause, so as long as it's there, it doesn't matter what I'm going to say. So that is in fact correct. So it is Thursday. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Cloud, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 31, an authorization for the supervisor to sign any and all documentation associated with the application and acceptance of grant funding for improvements, repairs, and restoration of Brooklyn Hall through the Robert Line Garner Foundation. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Clottering. Second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 32 is withdrawn. We go to item 33. Meeting of the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Authority. I will call for motion to vote for me as the board, the board. Motion by Councilman Mullins, second by Councilman Clottering. All those in favor? Opposed? The board is convened. Present.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the FTZ Board. My name is Brad Hemingway, and I'm the Executive Director for the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Authority, located at 1 Trade Zone Drive in Ronkonkoma. Today, I have 2 items for your consideration. First item being approval of the minutes from February 28, 2017, meeting of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Board.
We have minutes before us. Are there any questions? Hearing motion? Motion by Councilman Bergen. Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Second item is authorization for the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Authority to sponsor MacArthur Business Alliance event.
Any questions on this? Hearing none. Motion? I'll make that motion. Second? Second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Any other business to come before us?
I have no further items.
Now we'll have a motion to adjourn by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
The final item on the agenda today are the bond resolutions for the capital program. I know we had a number of speakers coming in support of that today. I would ask our controller to come forward, and perhaps if the Commissioner of Parks and Public Works and any of the other commissioners who might be called upon to answer any specific questions to make themselves available, that would be good. Joe, if you would give us an overview. I know we have 6 separate votes to be taken, and that's based on the probable useful life of a project, the number of years, correct?
That's correct.
And I will let you give us that overview.
Okay, Joseph Ludwig,
Controller for the Town of Islip.
I actually asked that you give us that overview, not let me.
Either way, I'm all good. The way bond resolutions are done is one of two methods. You can either do a resolution per project, or we can group the resolutions in as little grouping as possible. For financial benefits, we do the grouping as little as possible, and as you mentioned, Supervisor, it is, we group it by period of probable usefulness. The lawyers of the world, and no offense to all the lawyers here today and watching on Channel 18, they come up with what the estimated legal lives are going to be for each and every item that we borrow, and they attach that useful life to it. So we do the bond resolutions where we group and buy that useful life, so we pay as little as possible to have the authorizations.
Again, I know I've said it in the past and want to thank you and your staff for all of your assistance, and really all the commissioners too, who were all part of this, and their staffs, in getting us to the point where we are today with that AAA bond rating, because it's times like this that bond rating is going to make a difference in what the cost of the borrowing is going to be. Certainly with the AAA, which is the highest rating a municipality can have, our cost of borrowing is going to be less than a like municipality that doesn't have that kind of rating. Also, too, hearing today and reading it the other day that the feds have already raised the rates once, and plan, I think there are 2 more rate hikes that are going to be taking place in the not-too-distant future. So it appears that the window is still open, but may not be as opportune a time for us to be borrowing as it might be now. There are, and perhaps you can touch on some of these projects. Some of them have qualified for grant funding, FEMA grant funding, and I think collectively we're looking at over $1 million in grant funding that we would qualify for. So if you could just touch on some of these, I would appreciate it.
Sure, we'll hit the big items first, but just before you get into that, the amount of grant funding we're getting from FEMA is actually in excess of $2 million, not $1 million. So the way FEMA programs work is between the state and the federal government, they will cover 87.5%. We just need to come up with 12.5% match. But as you mentioned, we have a lot of projects that are on the list today. As you have mentioned, the interest rates are still at the historic lows. We are expecting them to start to climb up, and this year is when they're going to start to climb up. How much, will remain to be seen. But we certainly don't want to miss the boat and have interest rates significantly escalate, where obviously the cost to borrow is going to have that much more of an impact in the subsequent budgets. Within the projects, though, unfortunately, when it comes to capital borrowing, our projects are very vanilla. We do the same things year in, year out. We're buying equipment, we're replacing aging equipment, we're trying to work on our infrastructure and our facilities. This proposal that you guys have in front of you today, which addresses the normal stuff, like I said, the vanilla things. We also have some unique things that are really kind of one-shots, if you would. Specifically, we have money in there for the new animal shelter. Since I've been here back in 2007, I've heard of the animal shelter getting moved by a Costco deal, where 10 years later, the animal shelter is still where it is, and there has been no improvements done to the animal shelter, because every year, there was supposed to be the move. So that is why the time has come where the animal shelter either needs to get significantly repaired in its current place, or, as it's been discussed, moved to a new facility and have a new facility constructed. You'll also see in your packets the $4.25 million for bulkheading. That is to finally complete the Bayshore Marina project, which I want to say has been going on again since I started here back in 2007. Typically, we don't give the Parks Department enough money in any one bond issue to complete an entire marina project. This year, with the 4.25 in front of you, that will finally complete Bayshore. This is the phase 4 of the Bayshore Marina, and I'll defer to Commissioner Owens if you have more specifics on it. But it finally gets that project done. Like I said, it's been a decade plus in the making. Additionally, we have monies in here, which again are additional and higher than normal, but for pool improvements. With all the people who we hear earlier talking about Roberto Clemente Park, I know the board has made the commitment to try to improve that park, and the discussion of a spray park has been there, and obviously the pool needs to get done along with all the fields and everything else. These monies that we have in here for the pools would help make sure that we have enough funding in place, in addition to the existing funding, to get the spray park built, to replenish the pool, refurbish the pool, I should say. and allow that park to get open and brought back to a useful and proper condition. There's one other big project, that was the other big one that's kind of above and beyond what we normally do, and that's our paving. A couple of speakers earlier have talked about that. Our paving that we usually give to the commissioner is in the $6.5 million range. Within these numbers here, we've increased the number by $2 million. The cost of our roads and the condition of our roads, the cost continues to go up and the condition continues to deteriorate. Several years ago when Supervisor Nolan was here, he put an ad hoc committee together, so potentially putting a bond out there specifically for road repair. And the number they were talking about back then was close to $70 million to fix the roads of the town. Here we are 8 years later, I forget exactly when it was, sometime 2008, 2009. The cost to repair those roads has only gone up, as everything that is petroleum-based, which our asphalt is, has continued to gone up as well. So the old adage of do more with less, that's exactly what we've been doing. We're trying to now rectify that. And the other, again, unusual item is the paving for the town-wide parking lots. It's an area that obviously everybody who parks in a municipal lot uses, but it's an area that has been seriously neglected. We've not done the paving to the parking lots because we've never addressed them. We've never put money towards those items. And so in front of you, again, you have a bond resolution that will start to address those. Other than that, for the most part, like I said, it is the basic soup to nuts stuff that we do. It's the machinery, it's the equipment, it's ball field improvements, it's improvement to town facilities, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, Joe, thank you. Are there any questions while the controller is up here? Because I wanted to bring the commissioner up to Mr. Owens.
I've got a question.
Okay, Mr. Ludwig?
Yes.
Okay.
First question, so this, if I'm looking at this right, again, the first section of these bonds are the 3- and 5-year bonds. And it is for borrowing of $2.5 million, but we're estimated cost of the project is $3.5 million, because it's about close to $1 million coming from grants such as from FEMA and other places.
That's correct. When it comes to a bond resolution, the resolution has to authorize the total cost of the project. So within the language, we'll say, just for argument's sake, it's $1 million for whatever the item happens to be total cost, of which we will have $200,000 covered from grants, the balance to be borrowed.
Now, to get most grants, we have to have money then in place or something. So if we go up, besides any other grants, we have to sometimes have capital there, because it's usually a match on most of these grants.
Right.
And a lot of these grants, you can't even apply for them without having that, not a capital plan, but capital in hand. Is that correct?
Many times on their applications, they will ask where is the town's portion going to come from. Sometimes they will do in-kind services, but generally speaking, they're looking for actual dollars, and that's when we refer back to our capital budget and our capital plans.
So the estimated cost of 3.5, where you have close to $1 million we already found that these are grants we can do. We still have potential to even get more grants on some of these things once you have the money there. It's not blocked out.
Correct.
So right now, again, almost a third, I'm just looking at the first set of things we're voting on, almost a third of it is being covered by grants, and that's only the beginning, and there hopes to be more.
Correct.
And then if that happens, then we could, I guess, what do you call it when you, I guess, send back money that we borrowed that we're paying interest on? I guess we could.
Depending on how we borrow the money, so I'll just use an improvement to town facilities as an example. Let's say we're going to get a grant to redo a bathroom, and the bathroom is going to cost us $100,000, and we get a $20,000 grant just to make the number up. We can repurpose that $20,000 for additional improvements throughout the town, or we can use the leftover money to pay down the debt service.
But again, we need to have capital in place to even try to get some of these grants. So right now, already you have a third of it on using the first one that's earmarked, that is grants and opportunities. If we don't approve this, we're going to lose that opportunity. And that's only the beginning of the process of trying to get more grants. Okay, thank you.
Joe, there was a mistake in one of these that we had identified when we were going over these. Was that fixed, or do you need us to correct that on the record?
That was fixed, and I believe the town attorney had sent out the revised bond resolution yesterday. And thank you for bringing that to my attention. I do apologize for that.
No worries.
Any other questions while the controller said the lectern?
Yeah, to one other question. When doing these things, I see this like it's breaking apart in different, 20 things under 7 different lists here. They're from the length of the bonds. And we start breaking out or taking things or only approving 80% of it, it comes another fee or something to get bonds put together individually?
If we were going to start reducing the dollar amount, we would have to be specific on the project. So again, sticking with the 3 to 5 year, just the first item on my list is acquisition of light vehicles. We would have to be specific to that line and say how much we're reducing off of that specific line, and that amendment can be made here at the town board. It would not require us to go back to bond council, because the resolution has already been done. So we can, again, make the motion in the second and vote, by the board members, and then you can amend the resolution, and then again, it will be just subject to the actual vote on that amended resolution.
Okay.
But we would have to be specific as to which line we're taking out.
Okay, thank you.
But to just pick up on that point, if you were to do that, and then later down the road, you wanted to then vote on that particular item, fund that particular item, you'd have to get a new set of documents.
That's
So
right, that would require a
increase
new
the cost
bond
of borrowing.
resolution. Yes.
So I think to your point earlier, that is why we try to group these as much as we can to be as cost efficient as possible.
Yes, back when I first started and before we had changed the way we were doing it, it was not uncommon to have 17, 18, or even 19 bond resolutions before the board, and now we can reduce them to 4 or 5, in this case 6.
Just trying to
Steve, that's it. You've already asked enough questions.
How expensive are these things? So is it just a couple $100 or?
Bond resolutions, if I remember correctly, are $1,250 a piece.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, don't go far. Commissioner Owens, if you would.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and members of the town board.
So if you could give us a little bit of an overview of some of the things that you have in here. Vehicles, I had asked earlier about that. And I was pleased to hear that some of it was for the snow removing equipment, because what happens, and I remember very clearly talking about some of the initiatives we wanted to get done this summer, and a lot of the crews were working on getting the plows and everything ready for the coming snow season, because a lot of them were, really
Sure.
not in that good a shape.
We start in August to get ready for our winter season. We never know whether it's going to be a good winter or a bad winter. We have a number of large town dump trucks that are shot, and we have to continuously put money in the budget. The good news is that through the hard work of Commissioner D'Amico, and I think Eugene and Joe Ludwig, there was some FEMA funding, I guess, that was from previous storms many years ago, and we had the opportunity to get some grant funding, significant grant funding, and we chose to throw that money towards those big vehicles that in bad times when we have storms like Nemo, we're able to navigate through the town and plow the snow for the residents.
Are there any specific questions for the Commissioner?
Just in general, some of these, maybe just for the public to know, some of these acquisitions of light vehicles replacement, some are very old, and it's costing you more in repair each month or each year?
Correct. Like most municipalities, we're not designed for the worst days of the year, and our workforce is diminishing. So, the way to combat that is if we get more updated vehicles, we spend less in operating costs because we have less people to work on them. We get extended warranties on them, and we get, all the vehicles today are built a lot better. So we're able to spend a lot less in our operating budget, which is reflective of, tax increases, so on and so forth, Councilman.
Some of the projects outlined here include the paving of parking lots, as the controller referred to. Do you know offhand what some of these are? Are you talking?
Sure, most of them are. We are actually in the midst of, we already started Ronkonkoma. Until last year, we never budgeted parking lot money. So the parking lots in this town, like a lot of towns in Nassau and Suffolk County, are well matured and have used their extended life. They're 40, 50 years old. You can't even navigate through them. So we got a lot done last year. Our intention, we already have started work at Ronkonkoma. We already did new curbs there and new sidewalks, and we're going to repave that parking lot. And what a lot of people don't realize, and I know there may be some snowbirds here, up in the Northeast, our roads expand and contract. Often people always comment about how when they go down south, the roads are nice and smooth. So we deal with expansion and contraction up here. And, one of the challenges we have is, it's my impression, after being in this business for 40 years, that the capital budget was never reflective of our needs. Hence, we're always taking a step back. It usually was around $5 to $6 million. To give you an idea of, we're the third largest town in New York State. And our surrounding towns, about a third of the size of Avalon, has a $6 million capital budget for paving. Brookhaven has over $20 million. And hence, since Nemo and Superstorm Sandy, our infrastructure is shot. So, you know, and this is no criticism to our fire departments or our schools, but, you know, we ride through our town and look at our palatial schools and our brand new fire departments, and we can't even get to these destinations without, you know, it's almost professional malpractice. I mean, our roads are deteriorating before our eyes.
Tom, I have a question. You've referred to the town of Avalon, $6 million for their roads. Do you know what the amount of mileage?
Yeah, they have about 500, we have 1,200.
Okay. That, I think, is very important. They have 500 miles of roads, and their budget for paving is $6 million. We have 1,200 miles of roads, and traditionally we've done 6 or 7 million. So we're looking to move that up, certainly not to where it needs to be.
We're certainly not being pigs, that's correct, Supervisor. We're just trying to keep up. You know, we do have a small workforce, so basically we're just putting our fires out there. Many years ago, a lot of the local municipalities had their own paving divisions. None of them have it anymore. So.
And you know, it seems to me that keeping the parking lots and roads in good condition really are kind of a safety mechanism for us, because if someone goes into a pothole and damages their car, or has an accident in a pothole in a parking field that we have not maintained, you know, it could be on us for not doing our due diligence. I'm going to, there are 2 areas specifically that I'd like to ask about. The parking lot to the west of us, to the east of us here in Town Hall, that's in pretty sad shape.
Correct.
And here we are, you know, the center of Islip Town government, and the parking lot has craters in it. If we approve this, is that on the list of parking lots?
Absolutely, that along with East Islip Marina. We just did some bulkhead
That's another one I was going to ask you about,
Sure.
because we were there yesterday, as a matter of fact, with representatives of NIPA, looking at the lights and the possibility, well, more than a possibility, they're very excited about working with us on addressing that issue of the lights at the East Islip Marina. But leaving there and seeing the condition of the paving there, and it was like that last year, and it's still like that, and, you know, I find that irresponsible on our part. And I would like to know that if we are able to pass this, that places like that will be addressed.
Absolutely, and you know, one of the things, I'm sure the board members know this, we compete with other towns. You know, we're up in the Northeast, so it's a weather-related function. So we have a short window, and, you know, a lot of the big contractors are done by the same contractor. And a lot of those contractors, those townships already have windows, so, you know, we're excited with the interest rate and hopefully getting this bonded quickly to get out on the road and, you know, be ahead of the curve.
Well,
along with our playgrounds, you know, we compete with school districts, so we have to sort of get our work done prior to all that happening.
Well, I appreciate everyone's assistance on that, because we had hoped to address this last month, but really wanted to give everyone an opportunity to review all of the projects, get all of the questions answered, so you aren't a tiny bit behind the curve as we are now, but hopefully we will get this resolved today.
And I know we spoke earlier, I just wanted to say a few words about the bulkheading at Bay Shore. Just last week, I know Joe spoke about it, we had a car almost go into the water because up against the bulkhead, there's all holes in all the bulkheading, and it deteriorates, and when the tide comes in, it sucks the sand out from the parking lot. So not only is it dangerous to the public, but we lose revenue because those first few slips along that whole pier we're not able to utilize as well.
And I'll even just point out, that project was started back, trying to get this done was started back in 2006. The first set of bulkheading was 2007. And we have gotten, I know you're trying for, as many grants in a sense that end up making this cost affordable, a little more cost affordable. So again, even with this, you have capital in place, and you could always, as Commissioner Ludwig pointed out, we always still go after the grants, and this just makes it that much easier when the money in place.
Yeah, the challenge is like Joe Ludwig said, we want to have enough money to start the job and finish the job. It doesn't reload, you know.
Well, it's been 10 years since we got the first set done, so it's really, bulkheading's now already 10 years old, and shouldn't have dragged out this long, but again, you haven't gotten the capital to finish.
Any other questions for Tom? Oh, sure.
Commissioner, I heard you just finished, you finished East Islip Marina bulkheading, or is that, because I saw the cranes there?
Yes,
That was factored in the money from last year?
That's correct.
So Bayshore Marina, that will make the Bayshore, that section completed. What about the, are you funding for the second half of the TEP grant and the Maple Avenue Sage 2? Because those projects on Maple Avenue have not been started or completed.
Yes, we are taking care of that, Councilman. We're also, that's going to be, West Islip is also, we should have enough money left over. We're confident if we have an aggressive bid that we'll have enough money left over to at least do some of the consulting work at the West Islip Marina, because the west side of that is in the same condition as Bayshore.
And thanks for bringing that up, because that's, your commission, I think you probably have the most marinas than any parks commissioner. I know Oyster Bay and Brookhaven go coast to coast, but West Islip needs to be dredged, needs to bulkhead on the west side. How about Atlantic? I see some of our friends in the Atlantic Boat Association here in the audience. When are we going to start factoring for that North Pier there? That's like Swiss cheese now.
We're hoping to get some grant funding for that, because it's a tremendous cost over at Fire Island. But we do recognize that the infrastructure is suffering as well.
And I know you're under a lot of pressure, but can you give me the definition of pie?
Numbers.
Any other questions for Parks and Public Works?
Question of Commissioner Owens. I see on one of the bonds you have $3 million earmarked for pool improvements.
Correct.
Does that encompass Byron Lake as well as Roberto Clemente?
Yes, it does include some of Byron Lake. I know I keep saying this and people are probably tired of hearing it. Suffolk and Nassau, especially in Nassau County, it's all been pretty much built out at the same time. The problem with all these pools is it's not $500,000 fix, it's $4 or $5 million just to get started. So what we're hoping to do is we need to have a plan in place and get a hired consultant. And our next big project, I hope, is Byron Lake, but that money will allow us to hire a consultant to have a plan, and then we can borrow money or get grant funding on that plan.
Any other questions for Parks and Public Works? Okay, Tony D'Amico, there are some public safety items in here. If you could touch on some of the needs that you have.
Good afternoon. Yes, some of the projects that, sorry, just got my notes over here. Some of the projects that we're asking for are related to the budget, to the grant funding that Joe Lloyd spoke about earlier. Radio equipment and other equipment for the third floor radio room. Currently, our radio room is working in a temporary area in the back of the Emergency Operations Center. So what we're looking to do is to, with the third floor renovation, move the radio room back upstairs, install furniture, equipment for the dispatchers to be able to communicate with the units in the field, both park rangers, public works, animal control officers, fire marshals, etc. Part of that is also monitors for the walls to monitor the cameras. Right now, we're currently looking at two monitors on the wall to monitor all the cameras that are out there as well. Additionally, the boat trailer. We have a old boat trailer that's dilapidated, that's barely able to pull the boat out of the water and put it in storage. We're looking to replace that, as well as one vehicle and some radio and mobile and safety equipment for the boats as well. So we definitely scaled down our budget ask and look to keep the costs low in the town for just the basic necessities for which we can operate our department.
Any questions for Tony? Okay, I don't know, thank you. Is Steve Cozen here? Okay, Steve, I would like you to address because it is a sizable amount, and there is some grant funding for it, not a lot, but there is some. But I just wanted to clarify something that I heard, that this is replacement equipment, so printers and computer equipment that no longer is eligible for support because of its life. Is that true?
Yes, that is true.
So explain what that means.
Okay, so let me give you an example. Some of the computers that are selected to be replaced, they no longer produce the hard drives that actually connect to the motherboards that are within the computer, so we can't source parts for them anymore. Our Edge network switches are going to be end of life as of January of 2018.
So once that happens, we no longer have basically security patches or support for the segments of our network that actually interface with the workers. That pretty much sums it up. It's just simply, you're no longer going to get support, you're no longer going to get parts. Once it breaks, you're on your own.
Thank you. Any questions for Steve?
Yeah, is this also, if you don't take care of these things, is this a security risk at all to computers?
Well, absolutely, because what happens is with PCs especially, the hardware is not capable of supporting the new operating systems. So the people that write the operating systems basically say, well, listen, if you don't upgrade, we're no longer supporting, we're no longer going to patch them. So once a security vulnerability is discovered, the whole world knows about it, and there's nothing you can do about it because they're not going to write a patch for it. We are not supporting this anymore. So we're hitting that level at right now, and I'd like to avoid it.
Thank you very much. Okay, are there any other questions or anyone?
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Heil.
Sure. Jim?
Commissioner Heil, just on the animal shelter, is that going to be built with local labor, or is that a prefab that's coming from off the island?
We're going to try to do a pre-engineered metal building. So the frames would come in pre-manufactured, and then siding and the other parts would be constructed on site, hoping for perhaps prefabricated kennels, other prefabricated elements that we can obtain off island.
So this prefab company is not a Long Island company, it's off the island?
We're not at that stage yet, I'm sorry to say. This bonding is important, and then we will proceed with plans and specifications and get more details about the specifics of what is available as for prefab equipment. But it certainly will be a 4-element bid, GC, electrical, plumbing, and the other component.
It's in excess of $5 million, is that correct?
Yes, the estimate currently is about 5.2 million. I think we're asking for 5.5. The estimate came in under the bid allocation.
Thank you.
And the reason you look at prefab is less expensive than building prefab?
Easier construction, and we want to keep this clean and simple. It's not going to be a monument to anybody. We just want to get it up and get it functional. So it's going to be essentially prefab makes it somewhat more economical.
Thank you.
Metal frame construction.
What about the surrounding municipalities? What do they have going on with their animal shelters?
The only one I'm aware of is Babylon is under construction. When I went to see them, I think the estimate was about 8 million in the paper. Recently it was 10. Word on the street is that it's up to 13 million.
And is that a prefab construction?
I have no idea. I know they went into very much of an architect that did animal shelters, a lot of air handling equipment, the best of everything. We're doing more on basic and functional that will work, that's important, and for the upkeep and maintenance of the animals, and provide a serviceable building.
I appreciate your attention to wanting to make sure it's cost effective and functional, but I would have to venture to guess that this is going to be a vast improvement to what we have now.
Anything would be a vast improvement. And I appreciate the board's support of the project.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Heil or any of the other commissioners?
I just have one more question for Mr. Ludwig. Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Ludwig, is this, typically we borrow, in the 8 years I've been here, sometimes 16 million, 17 million, 18 million a year. This borrowing plan is up to nearly 29 million. And will this be the only packet of borrowing, or will there be another phase of borrowing a little bit later on in the year?
Typically what we've always done, so to answer your first question, yes, this is more than what we normally have done. And as I mentioned before, it's really because of those 4 specific projects. If we took those 4 extra dollar amounts out, we're right back into our normal $18, $19 million range. To answer your second question, will there be a second round? Traditionally and typically, we do this again come the fall. However, with all the monies that have been received by the departments, I don't know if they're really going to have a big request come the fall. The balance of the capital budget that is out there, again, it's more equipment nature. There's not the big dollar amount for facility improvements. And with the amount of equipment that we got, and especially from the FEMA monies, departments may not need to have to come back before the board in the fall to request additional equipment. It may be stuff that they might be able to hold off until 2018 and look at it at that point. Before we issue any bonds, just so you're aware of everyone's knowledge and edification, before we do a bond resolution, we do look to see what monies we have on hand first. I'm not going to come up and ask the board to authorize bond resolutions when we have monies in hand to do the same project. So if we have monies in hand, you would not see a bond resolution for that, or if you did, it would be significantly reduced from what was in the capital budget. Again, there's no point in borrowing a project if they already have money in the possession for it.
Thank you.
So also right now, it's my understanding that interest rate, well, we all know interest rates are very low. What are you looking at in these different bonds from 3 years to what, 20 years is the longest, or 25?
Actually, drainage is a 40-year useful life. The animal shelter is 30, bulkheading is 20, then again, it's the 5, 10s, and 50s.
And I know these numbers don't really come out officially until after we float the bond, but you must have been told some number ranges on some.
You know, right now with the rate increase that was just announced, I don't really know where the rates are at. We've been in, for the last couple of years, hovering right in that 2% range. The way our bonds are done, it's done on a coupon basis, so each principal that comes due has its own separate interest rate. So the rates will be as low as potentially 1.25 up to maybe a high of 2.75. And that's kind of what we've seen over the last couple of years. When we hit the market, we'll find out exactly how that plays out and how much of a need there is. Again, the fact that we are a AAA rating makes us very attractive for the secondary market, and that's what allows us to get such a good rating.
And isn't part of our rating, besides our finances and how much debt we have and tax collected and everything else, isn't also how our infrastructure is, how up to date we are with everything? Or does that affect part of it?
You know, the rating agencies, I believe, Supervisor, please correct me if I'm wrong, it was back last year we had the rating agencies came out for the tour. We brought them around to the different facilities and they saw the conditions of a road. And they do take that into account and consideration. They're first and foremost, and I don't want to speak for them, but they're going to be more concerned about the finances first and policies and things that we have in place. But they do take into account those other items. You know, if they saw all the buildings falling apart, we may have the greatest fund balance in the world, but if we haven't reinvested into our infrastructure, they may not give us the same rating as if we had, you know, gold-plated everything and a tremendous fund balance.
Well, I would believe when you got the AAA rating, it was, one is our finances, maybe a low debt, but it was also kind of a plan that you presented yourself or the supervisor of how we're going to move forward with certain things. And this is maybe part of the plan. I guess my concern is, one is what's happening, say, in the world of the country, the interest rates might go up. Interest rates just going up a little, when it's 1.25, it goes to 2.5. That means double our interest. We basically, our interest expense will double, which means we will not be able to borrow the same in the future. So part of this is locking in those low interest rates. And the other thing is if our bond rating changes, our interest rate would even be higher.
For perspective, yes.
Yes, because if we don't take care of certain things that we're legally responsible to do, or we're not reinvesting, for example, marina, when we have people with dock boats and everything else, if we're not keeping the structure up well, we might again not be able to get the same dollar amount or fill slips, just as one example. Or the golf course, I know there's one thing we're doing there to fix the sprinkler system, I believe, in Brentwood Country Club, which has been needed for years, and the town is spending more labor dragging hoses instead of fixing the system that should have been designed decades ago, which in the long run, playership goes down, and those are the numbers we have to look at.
Exactly.
And I know one of the questions of some council would ask is, we say typical, that we may be borrowed, but it's really, we have to really go through is what do we need and what can we afford to do. So if we want to stay typical, we would have to come out exactly where are we going to do a cut, or what project, you know, basically what sidewalk, what road doesn't get done is basically the only way to shrink this down.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, so a lot of these things are touched with grants. Grants we're getting, and we're not going to get those grants if we don't fund that capital for that light vehicle, whatever else we're going to get from the FEMA. And we need to have that in place.
Right, if we don't have our 12.5% match for the FEMA funds, well, there's no point getting the FEMA money because then we can't pay for the vehicle or the truck or whatever the case may be.
And Joe, once again, what was that exact amount? Because I misspoke on what it was.
On the FEMA number? I believe it's just over $2 million is what we're getting. So the total projects we requested were just over 3. And I apologize, I'm an accountant, but I can't do math in my head anymore. Those days are long gone. So I think we're getting somewhere in the neighborhood of a $2.5 million contribution between the feds and the state.
I have a question. I went over with you the other day. You had gave me, I thought it was 3.2 million, a little more than that originally from all the projects.
Oh, you have the list, great. Yeah, I don't have that in front of me.
So it's my understanding it was 269,036. So again, if we cut any of this, that number shrank to zero. There's over $3.2 million. This is money we're being removed. Thank you.
In all of the questions and comments, I don't know that we touched on the drainage. I know that's one of the projects also, $800,000 for drainage. I guess, Tom?
Yes. Thank you.
Traditionally, what areas are we talking about?
Most of our low-lying South Shore waterfront communities. Oakdale, we just finished a project we were trying to finish in Middlesex for 10 years. We finally got enough bonding for that last year. So, we can never have enough money in drainage. And, seems like the water table's rising and we have all those people at risk on the South Shore. So that amount of money just keeps us above water, pardon the pun, Mr. Cochran.
Well, I do believe the gentleman is still here from Oakdale, so I think he'll be happy to hear that that is one of the areas that is going to be addressed.
So Middlesex, which is a project we've been working on a while, this is going to help finish the last phase of the Middlesex?
We already finished that, sir.
Yes. I know when I got here 12 years ago, that was already like a 10-year-old project that never got to the ground. So finally,
Yes, the town board did fund us last year and we were able to finish that project. Excuse me.
Dragging out our debate sometimes on some of these topics, it ends up costing millions more because we never get to it. So that's thank you.
Thank you.
Well, to your point, Councilman Potter, this is part of the problem that this particular board faces. With all due respect to those that went before us, that proverbial can was kicked down the road and it's laying at our feet now. And now's the opportunity for us to address some of these issues that have been neglected for all of these years. Okay, the first bond resolution is for various capital improvements in and for the town of Islip. These are keeping you with a period of probable usefulness going from 3 to 5 years. The total amount is $3.525 million, with $948,000 of that being grant money. So the total amount of bonding would be $2.577. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Councilman Flowery. Roll call on the vote.
Supervisor Carpenter.
Yes.
Councilperson Bergen.
No.
Councilman Cochran.
Yes.
Councilman Flowery.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mullen.
No.
Motion fails 3 to 2.
Okay, we will.
I have a question to my other board members. Is there something in the one we just voted on, Councilwoman Mullen, Councilman Bergen, that we should, where you think there should be corrections? I haven't received anything from you that there's something you didn't like in this bonding. No?
Councilwoman?
I think we can sharpen our pencils.
Well, we've had these for a while, so I just haven't heard if there was any concerns here, so.
I didn't know that I had to answer to you, Steve, I'm sorry.
Well, I'd like to understand how we can move forward to try to get things fixed in the town.
Let's keep going.
Doesn't seem that there was an answer, Councilman. Let us move then to the second bond resolution for various capital improvements. These are the 10-year projects. It includes the repaving of the parking lots, heavy equipment, emergency generator. Again, this is $500,000 of grant funding, with the total amount of bonds to be authorized is $2.3 million. Any questions on this? Hearing none, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cochran. Roll call on the vote.
Supervisor Carpenter.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bergen.
No.
Councilman Cochran.
Yes.
Councilman Flowery.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mullen.
No.
And I'll ask,
Motion fails 3-2.
and again, I'll ask my fellow board members, is there something we could do to maybe ensure this bond gets passed on this bond?
Sharpie pencil.
All right, well, to that point, perhaps the councilwoman can give us a list of some of these projects in both of this and the previous one. You know, what roads do you not want paved, what parking lots?
Not the road paving bond.
No, the one previous did have some paving in there. But the one right now has repaving of parking lots. So, you know, perhaps you can get back to us with the parking lots that you don't think are needy and necessary to be repaved. Let us now go to the third bond resolution, improvements to town facilities and vehicles. The amount of this has about $1.6 million in grant funding for a total of $14,937,000. This does include $8.5 million of road improvements, improvements to the pools, various town facilities, heavy equipment, etc. Any questions? I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bergen.
Supervisor Carpenter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bergen?
Yes.
Councilman Cochran?
Yes.
Councilman Flaugher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mullen?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, we will now go to the 20-year bonding, fourth bond resolution. Joe, could you come forward because my notes don't reflect what I have here. The 20-year is the bulkheading, is it not?
That is correct.
The $4.5 million.
4 and 4.
4.25, I'm sorry. So that would be the marinas, as was discussed, that have been out there for a number of years. I'll make that motion. Second.
Which one are we voting on?
We're talking on the 20-year bond for the bulkheading.
So we skipped the $800 one for the...
There was a mistake in how this was put together. I'm just going by, that's all. Okay?
So I have the 800,000.
No.
No.
The 800,000 is the drainage, and that would be the last one. That's a 40-year.
So now we're doing the $4,250,000.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
4.25, which is the bulkheading. Any questions?
1 second, I just want to get to that part of that. This is the one you've seen that bonds total 4.4?
4.25 million. That's the bulkheading resolution. That was the Bayshore Marina. What's the
Good one that you have. Maybe it's probably the numbers. Sorry, I got different corrections from the town attorney's office and the controller's office. Different order I had
So if it helps just to reiterate, this particular vote, and Joe, you could maybe confirm it, is the 4.250 bonds for improvements to marinas and bulkheading. That's a 20-year
That's correct.
PPU.
I see a copy, do you have a copy of this right there? Sorry, tab tray, I don't have that.
There you go.
Okay.
Go green.
I'll make a motion.
Motion Motion by Councilman Fire, second by Councilman Cochran. Roll call on the vote.
Supervisor Carpenter?
Well, I think he made the motion. He's changed it, he made the motion.
Okay, but we're going in the order that the bond council gave us.
Okay. Yes on the vote.
Councilwoman Bergen?
No.
Councilman Cochran?
Yes.
Councilman Blattery?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mullen?
No.
Okay, the
Motion fails 3-2.
All right, the next resolution up is the 30-year PPU, and that is the animal shelter for $5.5 million. Again, there are 4 votes required for this. Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second. Second by Councilman Flaherty. Roll call on the vote.
Supervisor Carpenter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bergen?
No.
Councilman Cochran?
Yes.
Councilman Blattery?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mullen?
No.
Motion fails 3-2.
Okay, that takes us to the last resolution, the drainage resolution, the 40-year, which is $800,000. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cochran. Roll call on the vote.
Supervisor Carpenter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bergen?
No.
Councilman Cochran?
Yes.
Councilman Blattery?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mullen?
No.
Motion fails 3-2.
Okay, we're going to hold on.